Hello everyone, Kay from Up Underway Bookkeeping Software Consulting. And today it's all about your business activity statement. Now everybody talks about BAS. What does that mean? Well, BAS means business activity statement. So what is it in a bit more detail? It's your business activity statement. It's how you report and pay GST, pay-as-you-go withholding, and more to the ATO. So it's required if you're registered for GST, and it's lodged quarterly, or it can be monthly, depending on your business setup or how you set it up with the ATO. I pay my monthly. I've always paid it monthly. Sometimes I regret that, but it keeps you honest, but most people do it quarterly. So what's included in your BAS? GST on your sales. That's the GST you've collected from your customers, the 10% at the moment. GST on expenses, so the GST you've paid on expenses. If you've paid it, not every expense has GST on it. Some things are GST free, so you do have to be careful. The invoice will tell you whether there's GST included or not, so you can claim that back. Pay-as-you-go withholding. If you have employees, that's the tax that you keep back when you do their pay, and you have to pay it to the ATO. Often the ATO makes you do that monthly anyway, even if you're on a quarterly BAS. And PAYG installments, that's a tax prepayment for this current year. If you've done your tax return for the prior year, they often make you pay a quarter of that amount towards this year's tax, which may or not be accurate. So when is your BAS due? Quarterly BAS is usually due by the 28th of the following month. Sometimes it's the 25th or the 26th, depending on how the weekends fall. It will say on your statement when it is due. For example, your January to March BAS is due on the 28th of April. If you lodge electronically, you usually get an extra 2 weeks to lodge. So if you use Xero or QuickBooks or MYOB, then you get an extra 2 weeks. If you do it through a BAS agent, you get an extra month to lodge. But I'm assuming you guys are all do-it-yourself bookkeepers and do it yourselves. So tips to stay on top of your BAS. Reconcile your accounts weekly, at least. Xero and QuickBooks. Stay on top of it. Use the correct GST codes. Be careful. GST on income is one. GST free income. You may have GST free income if you're a doctor, physician, possibly. And there's GST on expenses and GST free expenses and BAS excluded. So do use the correct coding. If you need help, sing out. So run and check your BAS or GST summary reports before you lodge it with the ATO. Xero and QuickBooks have detailed reports that will tell you how much GST you have collected and paid and give you the entries. So if you need to correct something, you can do. And keep digital copies of your invoices and receipts. Xero and QuickBooks have their own way of sending copies into the software. There's apps as well, such as Dext and HubDoc, which you can use as well. Or you can just save the document down and then attach it to your transaction if you wish. If you need help, contact me. BAS doesn't have to be stressful. Ask questions in the group anytime, and check the resources tab for BAS checklists and guides. So I hope that's given you some insight into what your BAS is, so that when someone has a conversation with you about it, you know what they're talking about, even because if you're not registered, you may not know. And I won't go into the rules of there are rules that say when you have to register, which is basically when you think you're going to get 75,000 income. So that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Let me just stop recording.